Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to brag, but I put together a Lego set in a week, and the box said 2 to 4 years, so I consider that an accomplishment. Hey, so my real name is Andrew. My IGN is Dyrude. That is short for Dyrude Tilt Storm. Go figure out what that is.
This is new to me.
Yes, it's play on Dyrude Sandstorm, and at the time I was playing a lot of Hearthstone. So it was Dyrude Tilt Storm. It was perfect for League of Legends because you tilt when you play League. It just was perfect. And I shortened it to Dyrude just because it's a lot more clean. But on Twitch, the IGN is UF_Dyrude. Probably will change soon, but we'll see. I am a civil engineering graduate from the University of Florida, UF. So yeah.
Sweet.
I've been running Super Monkey Ball now for about 3 years. For the first 2 years or so, I was doing Deluxe on the Xbox because that was all I had. Like I didn't have a GameCube with a capture card. I didn't have Dolphin or any of that. Didn't really know about it. I got 16th with a very unorthodox stage selection process because in Deluxe there's 20 stages per world. You get to pick any 10 you want, and I did a lot of very unorthodox stages to what is considered to be the fastest in runs. Yeah, and I played non-emulated, so I played on a no-notch Xbox controller and hated my life.
Well,
yeah.
In fairness, trying to emulate Xbox games, like to just actually emulate SMB Deluxe as originally intended, it's not great.
I mean, it wasn't bad for casual, but for speedrunning, not having those notches, it's awful. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later, but diagonals are so important, and you don't get that with Xbox controllers. So it just feels kind of luck-based on occasion. If like, oh, I got a fast start, awesome. when you should expect that you're going to get a frame boost at the start of a level. But
right, there's like almost no viable.
There's no way on an Xbox controller. It's horrible.
From GameCube.
So I did that for 2 years, and then I finally played on PC. Then July of 2020, started out with Gaiden. I eventually found my way into a Mayflash and a GameCube controller, and I instantly got better. Whoever would have thought? Yeah. Yeah. So Gaiden is now my main game, but I have branched out and I do a lot of speedruns with Compact 2020, BBR, and Dimensions. And Vanilla Small P as well. That's coming soon.
Nice.
And then last line was records. I have nothing right now with Vanilla, and I'm mostly a hacks speedrun man. I have a couple world records for Banana Bash and Dimensions challenge mode. I have very competitive times in Community Pack 2020, and I'm just now returning to Gaiden after a big break. It's been about 4 months since I've last played, and I expect to get into to the upper echelons of times there. And then I have a bunch of IL records, so that's pretty cool too.
So how were you first introduced to the Monkey Ball series?
I don't remember how old I was. I think it was like 3 or 4. I had a GameCube, and my mom one day said, "Here's a funny monkey on cover game. Here, go play, kid." And I was Super Monkey Ball 1. It was very little. I just played the crap out of it until I got to Exam C. And I never beat Exam C, so I didn't like it too much. But I always said, "Wow, this game's fun." My mom noticed I liked it. So then she got me Super Monkey Ball 2, and I kid you not, like, if you thought you beat all of Skyrim and you put tens of thousands of hours into Skyrim, bro, I did that in Super Monkey Ball 2.
Yeah.
No stone went unturned with that. Never speedrun the game, though, until very recently. I only did that once I learned about GDQ, and I saw curve bridge frames for the first time, the 8 pause frame strat.
Oh my god.
And my brain bursted, and now I've just been playing funny monkey game 24/7 now, it feels like.
Yeah, man, that curve bridge strat is just absurd.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that in Run, and they were like, yeah, so we're going to pull off a really crazy strat. No big deal. It was initially made as a joke until it became actually viable. And I saw him, we're just like, what the actual hell is this? Just bonking everywhere on the side of these curves. You get like a 47 or something like that.
Right.
I don't remember, but it's like actually insane. And from that day, I'm like, wow, I could be so much better at this game.
Right. It's just a completely different game once you get into crazy pause strat nonsense like that.
It's not even just CBF. There's now like an 8-frame seesaw bridges strat. It's just not viable though. But like, there's a lot of these strats that actually exist and do save time. You just don't see them yet.
What's your favorite game from the official Monkey Ball series?
It's definitely Super Monkey Ball 2, very easily. The levels are like way more interesting. The animations of the levels are a lot more interesting. I feel like you can just do more with them. And when I mean more, it's not just like pause strats, because SMB1 has a lot of pause strats, SMB2 has a lot of pause strats, but you can do a lot more, I feel like, pauseless in Super Monkey Ball 2, and have it look visually impressive. Not to say SMB1 isn't, but I find 2 just to be much more fun. Also, just the casual experience, SMB1 not having that many lives made it way more difficult, and I, of course, never beat the game when I was little.
The skill floor was just ridiculous for expert.
Yeah. You had to be way too good at the game, and I wasn't anywhere near good enough as a little kid. I mean, other people were. I was just bad. Bad.
Right. I mean, for what it's worth, I've still never beaten SMB1 expert without continues.
I've done it. I mean, I've beaten the whole game now at this point, but holy. I mean, I haven't beaten Master also in the same run through.
Right. Well,
Bridge Master kicks my ass, but
you know, there's 2 levels in SMB1 Master that just defy.
We don't talk about
normalized movement.
We don't talk about Stamina Master, and we don't talk about
Stamina Master.
Is it Dodge Master?
It was Dodge Master, and then whatever Master, Dance Master and Dodge Master.
Dance Master is awful too. I hate Stamina Master though. People always regard as the hardest one.
I would agree.
Which is really funny because I actually think Dance Master is the hardest. Dodge Master, you just need a frick ton of luck unless you actually understand. You can just go around the outside of it.
Dodge Master's mostly luck unless you use a very specific strategy. Dance Master's kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Stamina Master, in terms of just genuine challenge, it's the hardest one.
It's the hardest genuine challenge, but the skip is also not the worst to do in the world, and just drop down onto the green ribbon into the goal.
That's the problem with Stamina Master though, because
that
skip is so much easier than just trying to play the level.
Yeah, and honestly,
I don't think I've ever beaten it legitimate.
I've done it legitimate. It's rough. The blocks that move in and out, kind of like the stage called blocks and Dodecagon or whatever, the ones that move out and in, they just move just fast enough to be annoying, and you need to have good movement. The other thing that's really annoying too about Master, I noticed with speedrunning, at least just for myself, is the glass reflection of the check itself. It's just slightly raised up, like the top of the glass compared to where the checker is, so it's just super disorienting to know where you are, like on thin wires or
that's rough
when you have fast moving platforms. But that might just be me.
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's gotta be distracting once you know it's there.
Yeah, it's just like you just don't see like the edge of a checker, so you feel like you're more to that side than you really think you are, and you just fall off and you're like, what the heck. But I also have touch and roll and adventure. Not liking adventure doesn't need a lot of explanation, but touch and roll, like, it was a good game. It was actually really good for the DS, but the difficulty curve felt a little low at the beginning. Like, there's just way too many easy levels and worlds.
And then a weird difficulty spike at the end.
Well, I don't mind weird difficulty spikes as long as it's not, like, too insane. And, of course, there's a couple hacks in particular that do that. But I think the difficulty spike was simply just because of how the game ran on the DS. It didn't.
That and the limits of the D-pad.
Air strats don't feel right in that game because the game's in 3D, but your monkey's in 2D.
Right.
And it just feels so weird.
It's why I think
doesn't.
somebody needs to get Touch and Rollin' 2 to become a thing. I know you're
Romhacks,
working
I'm your
on
number one fan. Please watch this video.
How's Junior and 2 coming along, by the way? Not to jump the gun too much.
It's coming. I haven't worked on it in a hot minute, but beginner is done. Minus a few touch-ups of checkers and stuff like that, but that's good. That's a very low like effort project.
It doesn't get much easier to model than something that could have ran on the Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah, no, and I mean, I could make it look good. Like I could make all the curves be actual curves, but it's not a true remake unless I make it all the same geometry.
The problem is if you smooth out the level, it's just the SMB1 level.
Exactly. So what's the point? It needs to clearly be different. Like,
right.
Like beginner 1 is just a rectangle, but in junior, it looks like a very thick dumbbell. So why don't I just make it still look like a dumbbell? Put in the extra effort for literally no reason.
What is your favorite Monkey Ball ROM hack?
That's what I mentioned before. That's 100% Gaiden. It's my main game. Even though I took a big break from it to play other games, I'm now getting back into it. Just from a regular standpoint as any player, the world themes are super lively and they really pull you into the game. The World 9 theme with all the different colors and lights, and you see the Colossus stage with the big robot and this rainbow and
Colossus might
everything
be my
like that.
Stage.
World 8 is best theme, the purple and yellow, the amazing music that's
World
blasting into your ears. Like everything about Gaiden visually and audio just sounds good, looks good. And then on top of that, it's really fun to play. Like Gaiden is hard, but the reason why Gaiden is hard is different from why other hacks are hard. For example, comparing it to something like 651 is actually a really good idea, comparing World 10s. World 10 of 651 is hard because the mechanics required are insanely difficult to beat it. Gaiden World 10 is hard, arguably not as hard as 651, but it's hard because the stages are just longer. They all require, medium difficult kind of mechanics. Like you need to be good at 0.5 wires, but that's about it. I don't think there's a thinner wire in Gaiden that is required for you to do. Actually, there might be one on Ouroboros. It's like a 0.4 maybe, but
and there might be something else hidden in the master stages.
Yeah, I mean, and there's like a 0.2 you can do in 2-10 of Gaiden, but I don't do it. You don't have to do it. It's generally like you just have to be good at doing 0.5 wires. In 651 that's not the case. There's 0.3s on one stage particular that you have to do. But the stage for your Ouroboros is also twice as long. You spend way more time on it. So the appeal to Gaiden is that it's difficult, but it doesn't feel insurmountable. And it was just a nice challenge. It was something that I just said, oh, I'm going to do this. This is awesome. I feel like I'm really progressing. I feel like I'm actually improving constantly because it's not just like I'm failing at the same wire 1,000 times. It's like you just got to be consistently good at being decently mechanical at the game. And so I just loved it, including all the world themes and everything. Some of my favorite stages, just throw it out there, Lock On 100%, and Styx. Styx is just the coolest thing thematically. Being on this river raft that you have to push to go forward and backwards, hit all these different buttons so you can progress. It's just a great idea. I just think Gaiden's full of great ideas.
Well, alrighty. Oh, by the way, just because I just got off with Cutsman and he actually requested me to have this and I didn't really have much of an answer for him. What do you think is your least favorite stage in Gaiden?
In Gaiden?
Yeah.
Is it like my least favorite stage or just my least favorite in general?
Least favorite in general, I think.
Ooh. I think this requires a couple different answers, to be fair. The least favorite stage, I think everyone would agree with it, is Tartarus. I think it's just because it's Master Extra 3. It comes right after, what's it called? Master Extra 2.
I can't remember the master names.
All right. It comes after Master Extra 2, and which is really easy comparatively. Like, why is this in Master Extra at all, other than the theming?
Right.
But you get to Tartarus, and it's very difficult. Like, it's arguably the third or fourth hardest stage. Some might even say second hardest, depending what you're good at. Stage to complete, and it's like right there, right at the beginning. For me, I would have put it at Master Extra 8 if you're going by actual difficulty, putting all the stages in difficulty order.
Make the curve more accurate.
But the thing that no one likes about it is if you die, you're spending 10 seconds falling before you get a retry. Because it's story mode. You can't retry. And if you decide you're going to do it in practice mode, well, then how do you unlock stage 4 unless you do debug, which most console players can't do? So you're sitting there like trying to beat the stage, and each time you fall off, you're just waiting a whole 10 seconds before you can get another try. And it is just frustrating. It's insult to injury. So I think in general, everyone would probably say Tartarus is the worst stage. But I think my personal, I don't dislike any stages in Gaiden, but I think the two that I struggle the most on for some reason are Ouroboros. Even though it's one of the coolest stages ever designed, I'm just so bad at it for some reason, because the regular button goes too slow for me, but the start button goes too damn fast for me.
Yeah.
So I don't have a choice. And then Albatross for some reason gives me a crap ton of trouble. The speed up button plays kind of rough for me. If you're doing the skip to jump across the wings, it just doesn't feel good. But also just going slow, I don't know why, it just feels frustrating to have to go over some of the thin wires. It's just again mad because bad more than anything. But I think the whole pack is honestly really, really cool and very well done.
What other content / work have you done besides Monkey Ball and SMB Romhacks related things?
So, did you ever watch GDQ like 3 years ago or something like that?
I don't know if I watched 3 years ago.
Okay. There was a very small game. It was like a 15-minute estimate called Refunct, if you ever heard of it. I've probably talked to you about it before.
I think you've mentioned Refunct before.
Yeah. So it's literally a 15-minute casual playthrough game. It's just a platformer where you're just running around on islands, trying to hit these different buttons and collect some cute little cubes and stuff. And you get to the end, and then it pushes you up in the air, and all you see is that the platform's made a giant heart, and it says "Thanks for playing." That's the whole game. The game's really, really fun to speedrun. It's ultra competitive. There's over 1,000 speedrunners officially right now on SRC.
Wow. Okay.
I got as high as 4th place in an alternate category called All Cubes, which requires you to hit all, I think there's around 30 buttons and collect 18 different small cube items throughout. And I got as high as 4th place doing that while there were 600 speedrunners in the community. It's just the idea of that category was alternate routing, so you had to do slightly different tricks, more difficult routing, knowing where to go a little bit more to collect all the different cubes. And it was also a lesser run category because it was just naturally more intense of a route, and the game got so optimized. Haven't run it in a while, but I definitely want to go back.
What was the process of learning Monkey Ball speedrunning like? And there's a few different sections to this question. I don't know if you've already got that segmented up.
Yeah, I have it segmented up.
Okay.
Learning how to speedrun Super Monkey Ball, so I'm gonna be honest, like I can't tell you how tough it was for me, just because I played the game so damn much that I was already better than an average player at moving. Not that I was really good when I first got into speedrunning, but I was already a little bit better and knew what I was doing. I always tried to do random dumb stunts when I did play casually, random jumps and stuff, just so my brother would say, of course you did something really whack, what the heck, you know? So yeah, the transition to optimizing movement sequentially, which is basically what speedrunning is for the game, really wasn't unnatural. Picking up and playing Gaiden for the first time made me a lot better at the game's mechanics, just because it was the hardest thing I'd done. It's also the only other thing I'd done other than mostly vanilla. But that made me a lot better. And then just also 4 months ago, I beat SMB 651 to be the 14th player to ever beat SMB 651. Only 20 players now have done it to this date, but that also made me a lot better at the game. So honestly, the transition at first wasn't rough, but then it was just playing the different many hard levels was what made me a lot better, and I just kind of got used to learning how to speedrun. When I was first moving into hack speedrunning, my guided time was towards the bottom of the leaderboard, and it still is technically, because I've taken a break. It's though I have an hour 11 minutes currently. It's in no way a terrible time, but it's not what I want it to be. I want to be sub-hour minimum. And the reason why it's not terrible is because guiding is so tough. I mean, if an hour 11 minutes was bad, then why are there only 10 or 11 players who have posted a run for it? You know, I can definitely say that I've improved a lot more having played 651 now and other packs and doing a lot of ILing. So once I get back, I'm pretty sure I'll break a ton of minute barriers pretty quick. If I'm gonna, I do like to give advice though. So if there's any viewers who are watching this and are new to speedrunning or want to get into speedrunning or speedrunning Super Monkey Ball specifically, just get comfortable with levels that you're playing. Don't be afraid to take a category like story mode and post a 3-hour time for your first run. I did that for Gaiden. My first official run on the leaderboard was 2 hours 51 minutes. If you do that, you'll have incentive to improve, and you'll see the minutes literally shred off. And then of course, watch experienced streamers. Plug in A-List, Complex Plane, Peacher's Inc., Glock. They're all very, very helpful, and they will interact with you on stream and talk about the game very, very openly.
Alrighty, so I guess to get into 5A here, so the difference between the approaches and strategies in casual runs versus ILs in larger categories, respectively.
Okay, this is what I went off on.
Yeah?
I have a lot to say about this.
Well, there's a lot to go through.
Yeah. So I actually break this up a little bit more. There's casual strats and runs, and then there's ILs, but then I also group speedrun strats as their own category as well. There's honestly 3 different types of strats. Casual strats in my opinion refer specifically to completing a stage the intended way or some way that has some kind of intended mechanic, rather than some other existing speedrun strat that like you jump over some gap you're not meant to jump over, something like that.
Some kind of skip.
Casual strats really are not a bad thing to do in speedruns at all. You know, you'll see people see a speedrun Super Monkey Ball 2 and they'll say, oh, I got to learn curve bridge frames. Do not learn curve bridge frames if you're very new to playing the game. Like, that's the worst thing you can do. You won't improve at all if you spend all your time into learning curve bridge frames. In fact, if you're new to a category or to a speedrun, the best thing to do is just learn how to beat the whole game itself just fast. Get good at the game's mechanics. If you die less, your time will naturally be lower. So casual runs are actually, or casual strats are really great in runs even, because if you have a speedrun strat and it's, you know, you maybe get it only 10% of the time, and say, you know, your PB, you die on this stage 4 times before you get the 5th time, you probably spent more time playing it than you did actually just beating the stage intended the first time. You know, a good example of this is 7-10 Gaokao from Gaiden. You can pull off like the little skip by jumping off this green slide and landing onto these rotating cylinders. It's like a 6-second skip, but if you fall off, it's like a 25-second death. So like I said, you know, at that point, like, is it really worth doing all the speedrun strats? You know, probably just learn how to beat the game intended, and then you'll worry about those smaller strats later. I think just like for low-level players, people who are new to the game, an 8-second time save is really nothing compared to saving the 40 seconds of deaths that you might have on a stage. That's basically the overarching picture, and that's whether you're playing Gaiden, vanilla, or any other hack or
Really
game
matter.
even in general. IL strats are like your cracked out strats. They're usually very nuts and they take a crap ton of grinding to get. They don't have to be, but they usually are. For example, like, you know, the IL is the world record strat. It is the fastest strat known. So you're going to try to clip off a platform at just the right height and speed so that then you can then jump precisely to a specific point on another platform to then clip off of that one at the right height and speed to get a finish. You know, if you're just off by a little bit, you know, you lose a couple frames and you don't have an IL anymore. They're usually like the hardest things ever, and they're not really ever implemented in runs. The ones that I can think of that come to mind are Changeover from SMB 651. It's in World 5. It's like a 5786, I think is what it is. I could be totally wrong about that number. But that's generally like the strat for that stage just because it's such a short stage. But ILs are generally not done in speedruns. Although I think ILs make you much better at the game. If you're able to get an IL finish, it simply means that you understand the game's mechanics for that stage specifically. Like you understand, oh, this is how I move optimally in the air. This is how I optimally corner clip. This is why moving in this direction is better than moving in this direction. Getting good at ILs actually make you much better at the game mechanically. They might not help you specifically for speedrunning, but they will make you much better and then indirectly make you better in your runs. And then speedrun strats, of course, are strats that are much faster. They're pretty difficult, but they're pretty consistent. Usually there's references that you can give to them, different visual cues, maybe get a frame cue or two. It doesn't have to be a full-on pause strat, but they're just strats to save you time over casual strats that you can make pretty consistent. And you'll see a lot of those no matter which hack you play. Then there's a couple other little things also that come to IL strats or regular strats. There's certain things such as party ball manipulation that you learn once you have a greater understanding of the game. Something that like ILs will help you do. Like if you asked me a month ago what party ball manip was, I'd say, what the heck? I have no idea what that is. But in all honesty, it's just like you get a goal finish because you held a diagonal direction and you crossed the goal, not through the goal tape, but in, you know, where the party ball usually is. That's just what it is. I mean,
I see.
And you only get those if you understand how to move before the stage properly, such that then you can hold a direction that lets you get a finish that way. Things like that are just practice. It makes you a lot better. But ultimately, overall, if you're speedrunning or playing casually or going for ILs, always consider your strengths and weaknesses. For me, I'm horrible at clipping corners and edges, so any strats that usually involve those, I tried to avoid in my speedruns.
Alrighty.
That was a lot.
It was a lot, but I mean, it's a big question that you can divide into three subcategories. So, part B. What are the most notably difficult skips and strategies used in both vanilla SMB and the major 3 SMB Romhacks? So Guidance 651 and Monkey 2 if you run it.
Yeah, so I don't run Monkey 2, so I'm not going to speak on that. I'm sure you'll talk to Ike and he'll give you some great insight on some of those strats. I'll talk a little bit about vanilla. Most of the difficulty of vanilla are pause strats, namely World 10 is very difficult. Labyrinth, Postmodern, Invisible have 3 or more frames. I think Labyrinth is 5 frames, Postmodern's 4 frames. Challenge mode, Giant Swing, Construction are also very massive pause sets. But that doesn't mean that pauseless strats can't be difficult either. By far, I think the hardest pauseless strat is doing Spiral Bridge in one cycle, because it involves getting a good clip and having very good optimized movement. And even the best players struggle to do it consistently because it's just tough. It's a definite run killer.
That's kind of late game too.
Yeah, it's super late game. And then also the best thing about pauseless too is when you get really optimized times like A-List and Nambo are at the top of the pauseless leaderboard, their runs do full pause sets, like usual strats that are full pause frames, they do them entirely pauseless. Like Nambo does pauseless dribbles and gets the fast finish. Don't ask me how, he just does. So, yeah, that's basically my experience with vanilla. I think no matter which way you look, there's a lot of good difficulty, and you can adjust vanilla runs also to whatever you find to be more your strengths. And the best part too about if you're not great at pausing or you find one pause set's not good, there's usually another pause set that works. For 651, speedrun strats aside, World 10's only been completed by 20 players, so that game is just hard, period. Right. And only four of them can beat it consistently. Ike, Walker, Peter, and A-Box are the only ones. I know Eddie is working on running 651, so I'm looking at him. And I only recently myself beat it for the second time, and it still took me like over 10 hours of gameplay just to beat it. It was awful.
I still think it's funny because, just to quickly break in for just a moment, I checked the 651 leaderboards just to get a brief insight into all that and noticed that it's probably the only one that has it small, broken up into two separate categories. Just because there's such a difference between 1 through 8 and 9 and 10.
Honestly, I really wish that the World 1 through 8 speedrun was World 1 through 9. I think World 9 gets a really bad rap just because of ladder. And yes, ladder's hard, but I feel like Worlds 1 through 8 are so goddamn easy comparatively. Not to say that the strats can't be hard, but even if you do the stages intended, it's just like they're not that bad. World 9 is actually difficult, but even World 9 to 651, I don't think is harder than World 10 Gaiden. So I don't understand why World 9 is not including that. But yeah, World 10 is a behemoth, dude. That thing is awful. I'm surprised there's not even just a World 10 individual world like leaderboard on SRC for that. A lot of the strats used in World 10 are just what we call quote unquote casual strats. There's like not much else to them. Crank you can't do a lot on. Frame windows, you just do it fast but intended. Smile, you do it fast but intended.
Right.
But then there's others that are really ridiculous. Birds and antlers are just, ugh. We don't talk about it. But there's other, difficult strats in 651. Descent, that's 3-10. Vows, 4-9. Those are probably some of the more difficult pre-World 10 strats. And then you also have picture frames, and if you do launcher green goal, those are other ones that immediately come to mind. I did recently IL everything, so I would say those are a fair representative as far as what is the most difficult, but definitely World 10 and a couple stages of World 9 hold all the difficulty for 651. If you're going to speedrun it and you're not that experienced, I think 1 through 8 is still a very enjoyable experience. Gaiden is my main. The Gaiden is literally strat after strat after strat. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Small is the most run category over MEX, but I will say MEX which is Master Extra, has gotten super cracked thanks to Walker. But I'm going to let Walker talk more about that because that's his MO. Small is just strat after strat. It's very difficult, but it's very enjoyable. And there's a lot of different ways to do strats fast, or for example, flippers, it's 1-5, one of the first stages at the beginning. There's 3 different ways to beat it. You have the IL, which is kind of awful to do, but you can do it. Then you could do a strat where you get hit up in the air over to the button platform, hit the button, and get hit all the way back up in the air towards the goal. That's the main strat. And then there's another one where you can get hit off of the first flipper, bounce on a platform, and then sneak your way underneath of this block to get into the goal that you're supposed to hit a button for. Like, there's so many different ways to beat Gaiden levels. And I think a lot of different streamers will do levels different ways too. I love Gaiden. I just like the fact there's so many different ways you can do stages, and we're still finding things to this day. I forget his name, but there was a fairly unheard of streamer in the Super Monkey Ball community who just came in one day and was like, oh, here's a strat for Pandora's Box. Right at the end, instead of doing the entire second half of the stage, you just get bopped up in the air because of the animation and land right on the goal platform. And I'll just sitting here like, what the actual heck? Where did this come from? But as far as difficult strategies, the main ones that come to mind for sure are curtain call 2 skip, which literally involves 2 full skips and setups. It's quite intense to do 2 in a row. Not that it's the worst thing in the world. Oust Hour has a strat that's called Rufus Hour. I like to call it blue skip because it's a blue wire. You literally just bounce off the blue wire and you skip the entire last 2/3 of the stage. And then also Apparatus has a very tough one that Rufus also made a really nice strat for, which involves hitting one of the buttons and going back through the wormhole to get up on top of the main wire again, and then going straight back through the wormhole and yeeting yourself all the way to the goal. It is quite crazy to watch. And we're still finding more stuff in this game constantly, and it's still being optimized, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, Gaiden especially, it's been interesting to see how much it's changed, because it really hasn't been out for all that long. Like the first public release of Gaiden, we're not even at 1 year yet. Yeah, we're like a couple months away from the year mark. So.
Yeah, and we're still finding things. We're still finding how to do warp streams faster because all those wormholes. I think now the main strat involves going through 5 or 6 different wormholes to get to the goal, and it gets 1 second slower than the fastest possible RTA time, but it's way more consistent. And we just found this strat like 2 months ago, maybe. So we're gonna keep finding things, and it's pretty exciting. The whole pack, I would say, there's some very difficult strats. There's others that aren't as bad, but I recognize that each strat can be difficult depending on who you are and what your strengths lie around in.
On to 5C. So, if any, what have been your most notable discoveries in terms of tricks and strategies in SMP speedrunning in general?
There's not a lot that I've done, especially for Gaiden, for the main RTA scene, which is speedrunning. My real contribution, I guess, is for baddies like me who have not as great movement with Phantasm 7-5 from Gaiden. There's a strat, and there's more frames for it too because everything's on a cycle. There's a strat where you kind of sit on the very last bit of invisible wire on Phantasm until about 97.4, 97.5, and you can basically hold up through the entire second half of the stage, and it makes it literally cake. That was the main discovery I did. It was just the fact that the cycles lined up so nice. Other people use a different strat, which is called a charge strat, but I do my strat because I find it to be fairly easy. And like I said, not dying is just better.
Right, especially when you're that late game.
Yeah, I said, you hit 97.4 for Phantasm, but that's already 22.5 seconds into the stage. So if I die, that's a big death. That's a chunk of time. Some of my other finds are more IL based, and they're pretty recent actually. It's for 651. I shaved another 3 seconds off of Voltface IL because I found a very interesting clip that you can get off of the side of a wormhole to get to the goal pretty fast. And then I added onto Lava River, that's 9-5. There's a strat where you jump basically over a large gap to hit off of the Lava River again and then onto the goal platform to go into the goal. But I found a way to connect it so that once you jump over the gap, you can actually then hit the Lava River. It'll shoot you straight into the goal. And it's a pretty wicked strat. I don't expect that one will really improve. I don't think anybody will want to go for it, but someone might, and they might improve it by a little bit, but I'll be surprised. Voltface definitely will be improved. But those are really my only real discoveries. I'm not a very big tinkerer until recently with games, and the next hack that comes out, I'm sure I will find a lot more. There are some smaller hacks that have come out, like Banana Bash, that I've kind of led a little bit in with finding stuff. That's more so just pause frames than anything. Right. Like I said, next one that comes out, I plan to be a little bit more involved with finding strats.
If you've played them, what are your thoughts on Kaizo SMB and the Monkeys Need Hard Levels to Breathe series? Okay,
I have a very strong opinion about this, and when I mean strong, I just mean you're not going to budge me from it. The 2 packs, they're and they're very inherently different in concept. They're both meant to be hard packs and be hard to complete, but they're that way for different reasons. Again, I could be totally wrong because I don't know developers' intentions, but that's my honest opinion. Monkeys Need Hard Levels to Breathe was created just to give a series of very tough and movement intensive levels for community to grind out. I myself haven't played it too much, but I do know there are some very tough stages in there, and the creator Twix Ninja just really likes to make very difficult levels and see how far he can push speedrunners mechanically and see how good we can be at the game. Kaizo, I have played a little bit, and in my mind, when you give something named Kaizo, references to Super Mario World, and the fact that these levels are meant to be very difficult in an unfair nature or require some intense understanding of the game in order to complete, that no like casual being can really complete it in any way. Well, not really in any way, but
pretty much without just incredible amounts of attrition.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some stages in Kaizo that are like, okay, this is kind of easy, but they're all designed to be like, what the heck, this stage is ridiculous.
Right.
I've completed my fair share of them, of stages, but I don't know, like Kaizo gets me angry. Because it's just unfair. There's a lot of stages that are just hard, but my honest opinion is that it's okay because it's labeled Kaizo. It's meant to be unfair. In the Kaizo setting, it's totally fine. The one time which it wasn't okay, and I still little PO'd about it, was when 3 Kaizo levels made it into Community Pack 2020. Right. 2 of them that made it in are fairly easy, pretty completable. One of them takes a little bit more skill, whatever. The last one is Carpet Slide. I hate the fact that stage made in there. It's complete bullshit luck.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's absolutely egregious that it made it in. And honestly, because the fact that Carpet Slide's in there, I will not run CP 2020 story mode because I don't want to sink time into that stage. It's not fun to play, and it's just not good.
It's not worth losing so many runs to it at literally the end game.
In a Kaizo setting, the Kaizo levels are great. I totally understand it. I totally get it, and I get the appeal of it. And I've beaten like 12 of the 70 levels, but Carpet Slide making into Community Pack 2020, that's where I draw the line.
It was a mistake,
in my opinion. Other people will differ, but no, that made me unhappy.
What are your thoughts on the state of the franchise / later Monkey Ball games?
They've definitely tanked over time. Touch and Roll was, in my opinion, the last fine addition until Banana Splits, but Banana Splits is pretty short and relatively unplayed, just because of the damage that the 2 of the other games have caused, namely Adventure.
It's also stuck on a console nobody owns.
Yeah. I do know that a few individuals like Interval and Peas SMB run Banana Blitz HD, and they find it to be a good speed run. But in my opinion, there's so many aspects of that game that aren't like the original Monkey Ball feeling. They're not Monkey Ball-esque in ways, and so I don't really group it in the same way or into the same category as I do Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 and Touch and Roll.
Right.
And honestly, in my opinion, Deluxe was a mistake because it was poorly ported.
Especially the PS2.
Awful. Yeah, the cutscenes look awful. The game doesn't play great. The fact that you're using a non-notch controller doesn't help it. And some of the Deluxe stages, it was going to be interesting because the game was going to be big or whatever. But some of the stages are clearly awful, namely Chaos. I don't think anybody likes Chaos.
Yeah, Chaos is.
I just don't think. While I know some of those games are good, like I know Banana Blitz is pretty good, people like it, and I know Touch and Roll is good, it won't be as good as Super Monkey Ball 2. They kind of went away from the concept of just funny monkey and ball rolling the goal, go wee wow, and they try to do something that is not them.
They just want to make a Marble Madness game.
Yeah, and I think the damage is fairly irreparable right now.
It would take a lot. I would like to see a deluxe HD. I think that's the next logical step, but it's not going to happen.
I would like to see just here's beginner, advanced, expert, master, bunch of stages, roll the ball into the goal game with no jump button, just super monkey ball, and I think it would be a good game. People would give it a go and play it.
So
Banana
rolled
Splits,
out.
like I said, it's just too short. Yeah, just go play rolled out. Just go play rolled out. I mean,
Big bombshell. Pyramid of Pain wasn't Cutsman.
Yeah, I know, it was all Twilight. I didn't expect it.
Oh my god.
To be fair though, it's not like a rough level. I just didn't expect the level to be so big and not be from Cutsman.
You're right, exactly. It almost seems like it's ripped out of Gaiden, but no.
It's not.
Shocked me. But
Very shocking.
what SMB and Romhacks categories are you currently running? And is there anything you'd like to share regarding that?
Yeah, I mostly shared those, so I'll keep it pretty short. But just to reiterate, I run Gaiden story mode all levels called Small, BBR, it's Banana Bash Remastered Challenge Mode, CP 2020 Challenge. I stream on Twitch. I also do full pack IL montages on my YouTube channel. I've done Gaiden, and I've also done packs you've never heard of, such as Flubby's Monkey Ball.
All right. So we're almost done. Question. All right. So
I don't have a streaming schedule.
Don't really have a streaming schedule. Yeah.
No, my response to that was just lol. Just stream when I can and feel like it.
You are on Twitch, though, so that's your platform of choice for this stuff.
Yeah, www.twitch.tv/UF_Dyrude.
Are there any current projects that you are currently working on? That's redundant. I need to fix that. Are there any current projects that you're working on? And is there anything you'd like to share regarding them?
Yeah, so I myself am working on a personal ROM hack for Super Monkey Ball. It's called Super Monkey Ball Launch with an exclamation point. You call it launch for short with an exclamation point. It's not launch with an exclamation point, but exclamation point after. Someone's gonna take that literally and just anyways. My kind of whole take on making a pack is other than Scrap 651, there hasn't been a speedrunner that's made a pack. I think Twilight might have done a few runs, but I know Scrap is a big ILer, and then I do a lot of speedruns myself. And I feel like being a speedrunner, someone who understands the game mechanics, and then making a pack, you can then do something where you make stages that are difficult but still very fun. You will want to grind them. Maybe you can make some stages that involve some weirder movement that you wouldn't expect you'd have to make, and then you learn something about the game. So that's kind of my goal with Launch. I want it to kind of emulate Gaiden difficulty. Maybe it won't be as difficult, but the stages will be shorter. The idea is to break a lot of common tropes between stages, the music, world themes, and even a storyline. If you could argue SMV2 had a storyline.
Well, it did,
right?
I guess.
It did. It's a great storyline. I do have a little bit of a storyline in mind. It doesn't really kick in until later into the pack, but it does break a lot of the tropes of the game. That's kind of my hope with Launch, is to give people something that's just a good bit different. You don't expect it, but it's still very enjoyable. Right now it's about 40% done, and I'm hoping to release it before 2021 is out the door. Another project is we mentioned earlier is I'm working on a Super Monkey Ball Junior port, and will also feature some N-Gauge levels. Yeah, you probably didn't know that existed. And then last thing is I've also done a release already for Super Monkey Ball Merry Mayhem. It's just a pack of a bunch of Christmas levels, or holiday levels rather is a better way to put it. And we plan to put out another update for it next holiday season, which will be called the Hella Holidays update. Yeah. That's basically what's good in my hood.
You really want to end on that, huh?
No, cut that out.
Oh, man. Alrighty, so that's it in terms of questions. So just to wrap things up, I have a customary thing. Do you have any questions for me before we wrap things up.
Who's cuter, me or Sudachi?
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. I can't let this go on record. Professor Rain.
Great answer.
But I guess that's it. So
Pog.
I'll let you do whatever you need to get to.
I'm gonna go piss and shit.
Alrighty.
I'm kidding. Probably
I tried to play it straight. I
say too much dumb stuff on a regular basis. What can I say?
Mm.
Like a couple of days ago, I got pulled over, and the cop told me papers. So I said scissors. I went and drove off.